are talking about it now.
He's healed!
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, but we're back with FriendsChatZA. Featuring Somila. Welcome. You're welcome. So yeah guys, as you can see by the title of the video, the healing journey from heartbreak, right? We're just going to discuss more about that, especially because you guys know the journey, how it's been. It's been real. So we've been discussing and we're going to carry on just, speaking of how do you heal, our experiences, we're going to get personal. So get yourself a cup of tea, a cup of juice, something nice.
Something nice.
And let's, I can't say stick around because if you know, but please do subscribe to their channel. I'll put all the details down below.
First of all, let's first find out, has everyone experienced heartbreak?
Yes.
See here?
No, I haven't. Sorry.
Yep.
Nope. Yep.
So the first question that we had actually asked earlier was, how do you heal from heartbreak? So if you've been through it, what are the steps to actually becoming okay again? So you have a wound, you know you can feel it. What is that wound? And I think maybe you guys can explain more of your own journeys. What does it feel like? What are you thinking? What's going through your mind before we actually get into the healing part of it?
I think one of the things is actually realizing or being bold enough to say your heart is broken. You know, I think in the beginning you might be like, it's fine, whatever, I don't care, until you actually realize, hey, I'm hurt, like I'm actually, it's not just yesterday and today and that I've been feeling sad, it's actually been a while, like I must actually be quite broken over this. And I think when you first admit that to yourself, then you allow yourself to almost like, now how do I get out, you know? For as long as you deny that you're in it, you will not try to get out, I think.
Here's my question, does your heart break before the breakup? What's even the journey prior to the breakup? I can imagine is something.
For me, it started before. It had been on my mind that is this, like we're discussing, is this God's will? So it had been on my mind, like it was in my heart. So by the time eventually the day came, it wasn't that tough because I had like gone through a bit of the emotions.
I think one of the hardest things is the time leading up to wanting to break up, when you really have to think, I actually didn't like this, or this was really sad when it happened. Like when you actually start to think about the reasons, the things that are causing you to break up, those things tend to break your heart. I think when you're like, why weren't you like this, or why didn't you ever address this, or why? Then in that place you're actually quite sad. I think by the time the actual day comes, if you're the one that's doing it, when the day actually comes, it's not the hardest thing. Obviously life after that is going to be it's going to be tough, but on the actual day it's almost like God gives you the courage to finally like just do it. So I think that it starts before, for sure. It starts before.
And do you feel like there's a loss of the person, right? But is there a loss of who you are in relation to that person? So is there a sense of, so if you prescribe to the idea that everyone kind of evokes a different part of you and who you can be and just your way of being, so do you feel like there's a loss of that person and a loss of yourself in relation to that person when you break up with someone that you love?
I think if you're building genuinely and deeply with someone, when it ends, you went to a particular depth, so that is lost in inverted commas. Like it's like there's parts of you that you were like honest about, or that you built genuinely, and so in that space you kind of like, whoa, that was that. I can't explain. It's like it goes into some, you know how people say there's a place that your one sock goes to that nobody knows, like Sock Island. The Sock Island, like you don't know where this particular vault is, but like it's almost like all those feelings.
You know the socks are gone.
You know the sock is gone. You can't find the other one, but you don't know where exactly it is. In the same way, I think that those feelings, they kind of they go into a certain place. Like the things you guys went through together and stuff are still hectic, but they've gone somewhere where you can't reach them as readily. I can't even, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you experience too?
I think it depends how well you know yourself as a person, and if you were whole all by yourself before you met the person. So for me, I think I did know myself well enough, but then at the same time, I wasn't exempt from going through the motions and actually experiencing the actual heartbreak. So now I was not defined by the person I was with, and I did not allow myself to actually lose myself or a part of myself. And my understanding of a breakup is that it doesn't really define you. It's a decision that that person took, and because for me it was the other way around. The person broke up with me, right? So yes, so I did not, but I saw it coming also, because I mean, I think there is there is change in behavior, there is a different pattern, in the relationship.
And do you ask? Do you keep asking, like, is everything
yes, you do
okay?
keep asking, and the person will like deny it, and they'll say, no, there's nothing wrong, everything's fine, but then eventually it happens, and you're like, okay, well, you kind of like what Lisa said, that you kind of go through the motions before the event. So like there's a process, you kind of have to deal with it, you kind of have to deal with the eventuality of it, you hoping that it won't happen, but then it eventually does. But you can never be better prepared for the event. You learn to be by yourself again, to love yourself again, and to just live without the relationship.
I think you're very fortunate to be whole, to know that you are whole before you enter the relationship. I don't think many people can say that they entered relationships, especially in our age group, that I entered a relationship being whole. It's when you realize, it's after the heartbreak, when the healing journey is becoming whole. That's when you're focusing the whole self-love now, self-care comes in. Because now you are mindful of, who am I? Like, really, So that's why I'm saying you were fortunate to enter a relationship and being whole. So it's coming back to your, to answer your question of, did you lose yourself? So yes, you do lose a part of yourself because you're thinking this is it. So you gave yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, you just have to accept that.
Like I see you going like gave yourself.
Because you believe.
You believe, this is it,
Also, what I can add, and I still maintain, I never lost myself. So the foundations of all my relationships, that is like with family, with friends, relationships, is trust. So what I do lose is the trust. So now that's, for me, like the hardest part, and I think that's the most difficult thing to rebuild. So I haven't lost a part of me, but like I've lost trust for that person. Because I've also experienced friendship heartbreak. It's very rare that your friends would leave you. Like most of the friendships that I have span over like 10 years. So for someone to just change up and leave after like 12 years of friendship, that is almost unheard of. But we almost kind of leave room for that in like relationships. In relationships. So for me, I think it's trust. So I've been in a situation where I've had a friendship breakup, and we've tried, but I just could not trust the person anymore. So did I lose a part of myself? No. But did I lose trust for that person? Yes.
Lisa, I have a question for you. I remember in your video that you spoke about heartbreak, you spoke a lot around guarding your heart and going back to that basic of really, the Bible does say guard your heart, right? It is the wellspring of life. Looking back at it now, what do you think you could have done differently to guard your heart? And I think because usually when you're in a relationship, you're not thinking about guarding your heart because you are all in, right? And like, so what could you have done differently, but what does it look like to guard yourself and your heart in a relationship?
What a question.
What a question. Basically, I was talking about earlier on that you ask questions in the relationship. Because I think we don't do that in the dating. We just come and be patient.
Love leaves here.
You did have God in your heart there.
Yes.
So that's when I feel that we miss the guarding of our hearts because we don't ask the questions that need to be asked because we're not married. Sajola.
Let me tell you something. because I think that the nature of women is to open up and to want to nurture a relationship and to want to really cultivate it and grow it. And one of the best ways to have that is to open yourself up and to give, right? And even for him, he almost like he'll respond to your openness, and so it's like it's just and then now all of a sudden guard your heart. Hey, now you don't know like how. And then I remember saying prayers like, God, I pray that you would stand guard over my heart, because you must see the things I don't see. Because clearly, like, the girl is failing. Like, I don't know where to put the. Because I mean, what does it mean? Guarding my heart. Did it mean I mustn't meet your family because then it'll make me feel like I'm in too deep? Like, what does it really, really mean? So I think it's a very tough question to ask, especially because you're in it.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, you really believe that this is it.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, I think, that's what I was saying earlier, this is for anyone also who might be in that place where you're in a slight limbo and you're not sure. I stopped asking God whether this is still the person that I'm supposed to be with. In the beginning was you are asking, you want to be sure, whatever. You get in, and then you're like, hey, this works, we chill, we whatever. And then the questions start to fade and you push them further and further and you stop asking God, like, God, is this where I'm supposed to be? So you'll see the little things and be like, yeah, but this is how relationships are, right? You shouldn't try to change the person, you should try to accommodate the person and see how you guys will grow together. And so almost like your whole philosophy around things, and now you become this philosopher as well. You really, like, all of a sudden, we have theories about, no, guys, don't just, and I look back and I see like, it was such folly on my side. There's some things that I look back and I'm like, almost disappointed in myself for really just like thinking this thing will change, or thinking that this will improve, when I'm like, it's so clear that the dating time should have really just been for me to keep on inquiring. Is it? And I was saying, sometimes you don't want to give up your relationship of, let's say, 2 years, but you've got another 60 ahead of you, another 70 ahead of you, which are you know what I mean, God has a plan for, but you're like, there's no way, guys, it's been so long, it's been 4 years, it's been 5 years, it's been whatever. So I think for me, it was like, one of the biggest things was realizing, like, girl, there's life after this. God loves you and loves him, and God will take care of him as well. I mean, it's tough though, but I mean, I think if someone has clocked how to measure themselves in a relationship and how to measure your how far you go, that person must comment down below. Whoever's clocked it.
Just a question for you, Somila. So on the point of wholeness, because I think it's an important one. So you mentioned that you were whole, and it goes back to guarding your heart, because I think the concept of staying whole in a relationship, so when you're in love with someone and you're building together, how do you maintain a sense of wholeness independent from this person? You know what I mean? So, or do you think that that's necessary or useful? To, yes, I'm dating you and I love you, but I'm also an entity and I'm taking care of myself and taking inventory of my own feelings, and my place in the world isn't as much as it is attached to yours, because we're building towards a future, hopefully. But if you left, it wouldn't shatter everything, because, and I don't know what the answer is, because all my chips are there, but at the same time, they should be a sense of, if this isn't forever, I'll be okay. And I don't know what that line is when you're in love, because I don't know what.
If this
and that's my question, because I imagine that it should be healthy to have a sense of wholeness in life in general for the rest of your lives. But how do you do that with someone who is the love of your life potentially, but you still see in parts? So maybe at 45, we get divorced. From someone who was the love of your life.
And you put all the chips in once you got married, because then the boundary ends.
So the question is there, because you could also answer this, but is there a wholeness that can be maintained in deep love with a human that you care intimately and deeply for?
Okay, I don't have the blueprint for wholeness. So I'm wholeness for me. So I'll speak from experience. Like I've witnessed people going through divorces, right? Or separating from the love of their life, and that's had like a very negative impact in everything around them, right? So now this is this is me, right? After the breakup, like I kept it going. So at work, I wasn't wearing my heart on my sleeve. No one at work knew I was going through a breakup. No one at church knew I was going through a breakup. So I did not allow it to affect everything else in my life that was going well. Okay. Obviously, I was hurt, but then I would just experience that hurt when I was in a safe space, say around someone who knows that I'm going through this, or when I'm alone and at home, you know. So the moment you lose yourself, I believe you lose everything that is attached to you. So your career, right? You're not going to perform well at work, maybe, or you're not gonna. Yes, you're not gonna.
Thing is
Exactly.
Going to an accident.
You're not gonna go to church. You're not gonna attend Sal. All of a sudden, because Jewena, a part of you, is gone. So for me, everything else just kept moving. It wasn't easy, but that was just a conscious decision for me that I'm just not gonna allow this to define me.
Even before, like I feel like even when you in a relationship, like you are the kind of person who traveled with your friends and you travel like there's a lot of things that you do so independently outside of your relationship where like ordinarily somebody would be like, I'm waiting for my partner to have enough money so that we can travel to, or you know what I'm saying, like there's all those other, I really feel like you actually you held it together in a lot of ways.
Actually I didn't actively think of that, but yeah, you're right. So you know what, I just pray for the strength to keep it going everywhere else where things are still operating, you know, fine. I won't allow it to affect everything. I think that would just drive me crazy. I wouldn't be able to cope having that mentality.
So yeah, what I want to ask is, even if, okay, I know you guys said you haven't experienced heartbreak, but like even if you think about losing a loved one, like a family member or like the actual feeling of loss and hurt, because I think the feeling of a breakup is loss. It's loss. It's like loss of what you thought would be, loss of what you've experienced. Like it's just a real loss. And so my question is, how have you guys been able to know that you've reached the end of your healing? Is it possible for us to know, like, when I now, okay, this is it. I've really, this is the end.
I think when you can think about someone and not have to cry. And you can actually, for me especially, like look at a picture or look at somebody that looks like them and not go into a whirlwind of questions and like a space that you don't want to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like you can celebrate something of their life and you can actually thank God for that experience. And not go into, but why God? Like how did this happen? I don't trust this anymore. And I think having those moments of like delight or joy at their memory is somehow an indicator of actually healing. Because I think time can move and nothing can happen, right? Like time is not necessarily what heals, it's what you do during that time. So I think getting to a point where the thought of that person brings you joy and thankfulness as well can be a signal or an indicator of healing.
That's true.
I think in addition to that, and I mean it's a very simple answer, but even just the ability to talk about it and to talk about your feelings towards it. Because a lot of the time, at least for myself, I know that when I haven't healed and something, it's hard for me to talk about it, but even to just express how it made me feel. So to say that losing this person hurt me deeply, but at the same time, as you're saying, I can celebrate that it meant so much to me, or it was a point of inflection in my life and it changed me. And just being able to talk about it is for me a sign that it no longer has this deep hold on me or this deep shame and just other negative emotions that we associate with loss and feeling the pain of loss.
I also think when you can hope again. You know, I think when you've lost something, you are so stuck in like, don't, will I ever love again? Will I ever meet someone like this again? Like when you are positive.
For those of you who are from heartbreak and you're saying, like Lisa was saying, you need to have that hope. If you just answer, I'm putting that, like I don't want a relationship, you know, that means you need to do some work, some healing work.
Don't you think also like as almost like an admonition for someone to guard their words? like in times where you're saying I never want anybody again, like you are creating an entire world where you close yourself over, like life and death is in the power of the tongue, and for you to say "Andifuni mntu," you're closing it off and you're speaking it over your life as well. So just to be careful even of the words that you speak into your situation,
especially when you haven't healed.
Especially if you haven't healed, and if you want to be in a relationship in the future, now you feel and you ask like, who belongs to me? We're the one who was saying these things over your life, like.
And I agree with you, Sihle. Words really do become things. Like when you say negative things, you are proclaiming negative things on your life. When you say positive things, you're proclaiming good things on your life. I think you become more open to dating someone new and just moving on. Yeah.
And I think just in terms of people again who might really be in a bit of a bind and they're like, okay guys, cool, but like how do I heal?
Yeah.
How do I actually, what does it mean? The healing journey must be nice to be on it. How do I start? I think, and I mean we can all share, I think number one, be honest with yourself. If the person hurt you, you don't have to first be honest with them.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you want to rush to be like, you know what you did to me? You don't have to go, you don't have to start there. You can actually just be honest with yourself. What is it that hurt me? Am I feeling ashamed of my feeling broke? Like, name the things that you actually are feeling so that you can be able to break them down and work out why would I even have this kind of an emotion now at this point, right? I think. Number two, I think have safe people. Like, build safe people onto someone that you can phone and be like, yay, yesterday I said I was fine, but today I'm not. You know, yesterday I was fine. And I think the third thing is a relationship with God, like, but speaking to God honestly. I think the only thing that pulls you out and the only thing that gives hope is God, and the Holy Spirit gives hope. So I think other than that, you're just going to be in a, I'm just positive, I'm fine, but you don't really have a true transformation inside that really hopes. You know, it's empty words. So I think you need to trust God.
I really think we can end on that. That's good. You guys see why I brought them on the channel. Like, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Don't forget to
like,
comment, subscribe,
and share. This is the road to 10K.
Yeah, 10K. Thank you. Actually, we got to 7K. Thank you guys for 7K. For the patience. You guys,
New squad finna change sides.
It's terrible, but thanks for the patience. Thank you for 7K.
New spots even replaced though, can't you see? You won't be